Oh, yes. This is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsored by Cheshire Impact, on a mission to help people maximize their use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. I hit a button and we get started. Man, I'm so excited. I don't know what day it is for you when you're listening to this, but it is Friday over here. And I am stoked to have a little weekend to hop into. But first, we have an awesome podcast. And this is someone who the hype is real, everyone. We have been talking about this. She mentioned the mere fact that she was going to slay some of the myths on this podcast. And it is time. It is happening. Who is my guest, Casey? Who is this? Who are you talking about? She is a social media leader. And I don't take that term lightly. Digital content creator and LinkedIn master Jedi. And I don't say that lightly either. I've met some amazing influencers on LinkedIn, and she is one of the top ones. And what's really cool, I love following her and learning from her on LinkedIn. She makes social fun, but also powerful. Have fun doing it while making a huge impact. That's what we're going to talk about today, using LinkedIn to build relationships, optimization tips. We're just going to chat all about things. Director of Content and Digital Media at Enterprise Community Partners, Mandy McIntyre. Welcome to the show.
Hey, woo woo. Happy Friday. Thanks for having me, Casey.
Yeah, this is so cool. It's one thing to, see your post and interact with you there. It's another thing to have you right in front of me where I can pick your brain and learn all the things that make it happen, because you really, when you pose a question to the community or you share a thought, people are like thankful. They're sharing it. They're I almost want to say retweeting, but they're resharing it and they're commenting and they're engaging on it. So you really have this engaged community around you. And so we're going to talk all about LinkedIn. We're going to talk about being real, all these good things. So let me pass this to you.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. You got it?
Yes.
All right, you got it. Whoa.
Oh, this thing's heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? You get used to, you just got to swing it around a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, take Thor's hammer and smash
right.
me some kind of marketing myth, bogus strategy, misconception. Just set the record straight once and for all.
So, Casey, here is the myth that I want to smash. And that's that you have to be, as a leader, really buttoned up, polished, only speaking on the company line on social media and especially on LinkedIn. It's just not true. We want to see your human side.
Your human side. So you don't have to be that perfectly polished, amazing figurehead over there.
Exactly. I think sometimes people are too scared to show their true self, and they're thinking about, especially the old days of LinkedIn when it was kind of just like a resume. So everyone just wanted to have their pretty headshot up there, little bio of what they do. And now if they're actually posting, they're just like, okay, I'll post my company's press release. This is perfect. But nobody wants that. You're there as an individual, not your company talking head.
Yeah, I cringed when you said posting a press release. Knowing what I know about watching you do it and watching that seems like the wrong. Why are we sort of stuck in this time warp? Why do we think that we have to be so polished on LinkedIn?
It's totally a time warp. You put it perfectly. I think that some people on LinkedIn don't yet follow all the content creators like us and many of our friends. So they're just seeing other people like them who might be C-suite, leaders, and they're all doing the same thing. It's just like a little bubble. And they're all posting their company announcements and saying, so proud that my company announced XYZ today. And they think that's what they're supposed to keep doing.
Yeah. And nobody really wants to see that. We don't want to get it in our email. We don't want to get it on LinkedIn. What should they be doing? And who should they be when they're on LinkedIn? Should they be a certain kind of persona? They can't be polished. So should they be grungy? Like what should they look like?
Just be real, be authentic. There's a reason that you are in the role that you're in, if it's a leadership role of any kind. And I honestly think that everyone can consider themselves a leader in some way.
Agreed.
There's a reason you got into that role, and it was more than your resume, and it was more than, your work accomplishments. It's because you had the right personality and you attract people to yourself in some way. You're a good communicator, whatever your strengths are. And I happen to think that most people have a funny side and a charismatic side that they can show. show that, because that's why people will want to come work with you or hire you or partner with you. Just the corporate speak isn't going to attract anyone to you and help amplify what you're actually trying to say. And that goes for all channels. Like you said, it's not just LinkedIn. I mean, it's your other social channels too, but then if you're working in marketing or you're working alongside the marketing team, the communications team at your company, and you're sending out emails that are robotic, it's really the same thing. So it's more than just your personal profiles. It extends to everything that you're trying to say.
Wow. So it's even more than LinkedIn. It like this is a lesson that goes across space and time. This is across all the channels, all the things, as they say. Um, I can see why people maybe are polished on LinkedIn. Do we just have this thing where we feel like we have to be buttoned up, like we're all working for IBM or something? What is
Yeah.
that?
I think so. I think everybody's thinking of it like, okay, how should I appear in my first interview? And
Right.
I get that. I mean, you don't want to go off and talk about highly controversial things, probably. I personally stay out of politics on
Amen.
LinkedIn,
Right.
especially these days. So I get that. And everybody has their own boundaries. Maybe there's some parts of your personal life you don't want to share, but I think there are ways to make your personality really shine through. And one of the first things you can do is, if you're thinking about, okay, I want to share something that I'm doing at work. I want to talk about, a certain project and announce it. Talk about what actually made this thing happen. Like, what did you do? How did you work with your team members? How did you make this thing actually shine? That's what people really want to know.
Yeah. And then how you feel about it too. So it's not just what you did, but also how you feel about it and the human
Yeah.
side of it.
Yeah, it was probably back in March or April when I first started getting really active on LinkedIn, but I remember somebody posted something along these lines about, like, don't be boring on LinkedIn. And I remember, I think I commented something like that too, like, stop just posting your company updates on your LinkedIn. And this woman, she kind of got into it with me. She was
Really?
like, that's not true. I post about my campaigns all the time. So of course, knowing me, I'm a little bit stalkerish. I go to her page and I'm like, okay, what's she talking about? What does she post? And she actually had a really interesting campaign that she works on. I think it was like cancer prevention, cancer awareness, something like that.
Okay.
And it was like a people-focused campaign. It would spotlight a survivor, really compelling, but she was just kind of sharing them without much commentary, I think. And, like, proud that we did this month, And so I said to her, that's a really powerful thing that you're doing, but if you shared some personal insights, people would be really drawn to it.
Yeah.
She totally didn't see my point.
Yeah. So, but what was she sharing? So, I mean, because that's a powerful story. She was just sharing the logistics of it or something?
No, I think she was part of working on a campaign with, like, posters that would have a
Mm,
person's face, some kind of, message or tagline about being a cancer survivor.
okay.
So I think it was about, like, cancer prevention and awareness. Um, so, she was sharing those out so you could read the actual poster and learn about the person, but she wasn't really providing personal insights into, okay,
Got
how
it.
did she make this camp, what's her creative role in this? How did you find the participants? How did you do the photo shoot? How did you get the quotes? That's the kind of stuff that I want to know. And then also you could just share the personal, way you felt, how it moved you to hear this person's story. And, she could say, well, I met with, Sam, and he talked about his story, and it reminded me of when I knew somebody who faced the same thing. And, it really brings back emotions. And I know that's hard for people. It means being vulnerable. But I think that you have to be, if you want people to see you as a real person, which is what you are. You're not a robot.
Yeah. Interesting. It's like and I feel you because I'd be a little. I'm like, man, you have such a thing here. You could do so much with this. All you have to do is just tweak it a little bit, and it'd be so much more powerful than just sharing the announcement or just sharing the poster. It's almost like there's power in sharing what's behind the scenes. There's power in so
Okay.
there's power in sharing. It's almost like sharing behind the scenes at Disney World. Um, we don't want to just see the Disney World. these days, especially on LinkedIn. Like for us, we could share when we do this episode on LinkedIn, we could say, do you know how many times Mandy and I had to battle Wi-Fi and crazy microphones, but we got it done. Like,
That's
and it was an
right.
awesome conversation. But those kind of things, people like, oh, well, okay, interesting. There's stuff was going on, and they make
Yeah,
it
the
happen. So this gal
behind
could
the
share
scenes.
all the behind the scenes. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's what I want. And I think there's just no point to just sharing something that your company page already shared.
Right.
It's just repetitive and it doesn't add anything to the conversation. And if you
Right.
want actual engagement with people, then you have to give them something to engage with or ask a question, get them involved with you. And I think engagement is another key thing that leaders are often missing out on. And it, yeah, like you said, it kills me to see like a missed opportunity with someone like that who had great fodder for her post but just wasn't using it to its full capacity.
Right. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's like, oh, I want this cause to do well. We want to see you succeed, but you're stuck in like 1980s marketing or something, and it's not. It's falling
Yeah,
flat. Um,
yeah.
you mentioned the be real and be authentic, and clearly you're doing that. I try to do that. How do you know when you are? And is there a litmus test, or how do you do that? If someone's like, I think I'm being real, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I think the best way to do it is to tell actual stories from
Oh,
your life. Sometimes that's my own little test is like, am I writing a preachy post to people right now? Or am I actually talking about myself and something that happened and how I've applied that? And I think it was last week I posted something about being on the struggle bus.
no.
People just really related to that. It was like, yes,
Yeah.
I'm on that bus too. And everyone was coming out there flying with their own bus analogies, all the wheels falling off and crashing and
Yeah.
being the owner of the bus company and stuff. And so, it all started with my own personal experience of just having a rough week, and instead of coming out there and saying like, here's how you can deal with being with struggling and with stress, I actually kind of related it to my life and then used a fun analogy, some pop culture.
Yeah. That's really the way to do it. And I want to respond to that because there takes a bit of courage to be vulnerable like that. And so I'm kind of finding out the be real, be authentic. It's not as easy as it sounds because you have to put yourself out there as a incomplete human, as a not
Yeah,
perfect person. Back to the original point, not the polished, perfect marble statue over in Paris. It's like, hey, it's
yeah.
just me, and yeah, and last week you're on the struggle bus. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of us are either this week or last week or the week, and especially as it gets like darker and getting into the winter time, we're like, wait, when do we have summer? When do we get to go out?
Yeah, it's going to get harder and harder as the weather
Yeah.
changes. And those of us who are still mostly at home, it's tough. But I mean, that's sort of where I got started with writing consistently on LinkedIn was, there's no better time to show your real self and be vulnerable because everybody gets it
Yeah.
right now. And that's kind of how I started in March was I felt like, my kids are home with me. Like, how am I supposed to be working right now? It was
Right.
just, I needed an outlet. And then people really understood and
Yeah.
responded. And I felt that community just starting to build right away.
How are you even on this podcast right now?
Yeah. Well,
Are you
one's
like
on her
locked up
own
with a
Zoom.
box of
Yeah,
Cheerios
that's,
somewhere? Or?
yeah. And I am in the basement, truly.
I'm in the basement too. Isn't that funny? That's what we got to do in 2020 is you got to like
Yeah.
way to the basement to get stuff done.
Yeah. I posted the other day about my little shadow kids finding me wherever I go. And I posted a GIF of a kid like running from her own shadow. And that's me running from my kids. But, you know, it's hard.
Totally.
They find you wherever you go.
Now I got to tangent you real quick. And I know where we are, so I'll take us back to it. But you say GIF. I usually say GIF.
Yes. No, actually, I flip back and forth.
Do you?
Yeah, it's so hard because a few years ago, somebody said, or it was going around on social that it's GIF like the peanut butter. So it got stuck in my head. But you are correct. It's GIF because it stands for graphics interface format, something like that.
Okay.
So it should be GIF, but I cannot get it out of my head. It's like It's like
Oh,
we were talking
GIF.
about pronouncing people's names. Um,
GIF.
you
But you know
get
what?
one
Now that I
version
brought up
in
the
your
topic, now I'm confused. I don't even know what I was gonna. What do I call it? GIF?
head.
GIF?
GIF and GIF, yeah.
GIF. I think I call it a GIF. Or we could just skip the conversation altogether and just call them JPEGs. Well,
So
yeah. I mean, the issue is definitely when you have the homeschoolers going on, it's and everyone's trying to get to Wi-Fi. Then what do you do? That's cool.
yeah,
With
yeah.
with the magic of editing, this
Okay.
episode will sound. But we should leave this part in. We should leave whenever we talk about the Wi-Fi being terrible. We should probably leave in if we can, because
Okay, I'm
that's the
down with that.
real that we're talking about. Like we were just talking about making this episode real, so we could
Mm-hmm.
probably cut out the weird like parts. But
Yeah.
when we're like, oh darn, that Wi-Fi again,
People
people
can
could turn
relate.
it into a drinking game or
I know.
like a skit like a snack like a chocolate game. Every time we talk about the Wi-Fi, you can eat a chocolate or
Oh, I like that.
drink a beer or
Any
something.
excuse. I'll take it.
Right? Imagine we were playing that every time we had a Wi-Fi issue. We're like, okay, chug a lug. By the end, I'd be calling it a GIF as well.
Yeah, I got really good at saying GIF, and then I didn't even, you called me on it, and
Yeah.
I'm glad you called me on it, so I can be more.
Are you? Because I did kind of do it on national television, so maybe I should apologize for doing that.
That's fine. And you know what? This relates back to our whole discussion on
Yeah.
real is that you should let people call you on your shit. Like
Tell me
that's
about
another
that. Tell me
thing.
about that.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like there was this one social media influencer person. She's like specializes in social, and I really liked following her stuff. Um, I noticed she was always posting at the same time every morning. Like she kind of, I was already sort of questioning her style, but one day she posted something about like how to do LinkedIn articles. So I go to her LinkedIn profile and she had none. She had no LinkedIn articles herself.
Mm,
So
skeptical.
I was not trying to be a hater, but in the comments I said, just wondering why you don't do them. And she,
First of all, can I pause? Can we say, my kids would say, burn.
okay. So I guess I wasn't really thinking at the time like this is going to come off like a big burn. I just thought it would be a conversation because I figured she might say, well, for me, my strategy doesn't make sense because XYZ, but I recommend my clients do it or whatever. I just thought there'd be a rationalization. So it didn't even occur to me. Well, that's how she took it. She got pretty pissed. And anyone in the comments who challenged her, she was mad.
I
And
kind of want to
I tried,
find that. Can we find it and link to it in the show notes?
yeah, well, she blocked me. So I don't know.
Oh,
That's how it ended. We went back and forth a couple times where I said, honestly, I did not mean any hate. I'm just wondering. And she said, why don't you go watch the video? I can tell you didn't even watch the video because that's what it linked to was her 30-minute YouTube video. And I'm like, listen, you could have just answered real quick and said, I have a reason I don't do it. It doesn't fit with my strategy, or I'm thinking about doing it, go watch the video for more. And
yeah,
that might have intrigued me to actually watch it. But if I'm going to commit 30 minutes of my time to something, like give me a little reason to do it and show that you give a shit about talking to me. Like it was
yeah.
pretty clear that she just wanted to engage with the people who agreed with her, who
Ugh,
liked her. Some of the
gross.
comment threads went off into like a love fest of like, just ignore the haters, and it's just like,
Ugh,
and if someone calls me out on something, whatever it is, unless they're using hateful, offensive language,
right.
like I will engage with you. I will talk to you about it. I'm here to listen. Maybe you have a valid point that I haven't thought about. And if you don't, then I'm going to debate with you and I'll probably win. So
Snap.
that's my take.
Snap. You're gonna have to tell me who this is offline because
I
I
will.
have to go check this out. And I wonder if it's the same someone on my this network I'm in. They were like, "Oh, we should bring in someone to talk about LinkedIn." And having seen you and other people, and now talking to you and other people, I was like, "Okay, if they bring any, like, who are they gonna bring in? Because if they bring anyone, maybe like this particular woman you were talking to, and they've got less followers than even me, then I don't want to like, and I don't have that many followers, but like." Talking to people like you and others where you've got like tens of thousands and twenties of that like followers out the wazoo, like I want to know what you have to say. Someone who has like 1,000 or like, and
Yeah.
no judgment, like have as many as you want. They're not that important, but it's like, I want to learn from someone who actually is doing this. Um,
Yeah.
so I
Right.
wonder if it's the same one because, oh yeah, she spoke on this topic, and you're like going looking at her profile, and it's no summary at the no about section and no articles, and you're just like, ah,
Yeah.
and drink your own soda, drink your own Kool-Aid. If you're
Yeah.
gonna tell
Kool-Aid.
people, eat your own cake, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm sort of fascinated by, do you get the pitches from these LinkedIn coaches, like you said, who have like 100 followers or something? I
LinkedIn
get them
coaches.
all the time. Okay, well, first of all, you know about LinkedIn coaches, right?
Uh,
The growing
well,
the growing trend.
what they're here to like help you use LinkedIn, like what I was talking about, help you use LinkedIn more. Is that the idea?
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's something I want to get into too, is helping people with their LinkedIn, but I hate the term LinkedIn coach, and for me, it would be more about helping you with your overall communications and
Yeah.
marketing, personal branding strategy, not just how do you post on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But I get DMs like regularly from people who, want to help with my LinkedIn, and I look at their profile and they have 200 followers or maybe 1,000. And like you, like, I'm not hating, maybe you're getting started, or maybe you have clients who have like crazy
Yeah.
followings, but then you better talk about that and talk that up on your bio and have it featured. Otherwise, like, no one's going to take you seriously.
Yeah. It's like we do a lot of Pardot at my company, and it's like the people like, we do Pardot too, but their form is like MailChimp or something. No hate. I like MailChimp too, but like if you're gonna tell people you're gonna help them with this technology, maybe you should use it too. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people actually hit you up telling you that you need a LinkedIn coach, because that would be kind of weird, wouldn't it?
People hit me up for everything. I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way. That's one of the biggest gripes I see on LinkedIn, but I just don't get the sense that people are looking at people's profiles before pitching shit to them.
Some
So
kind of
it's just like,
searcher. Yeah.
uh, it's
You know,
just, people call it like the spray and pray. They just pitch a bunch of people and hope that somebody takes the bait.
and honestly, you should be teaching them probably. Um, I'll
Maybe.
I'll say it. What I found works really well for LinkedIn spammers.
What?
Tell them to go buy something of yours.
Yeah.
So when I get a
Yeah.
note saying, "Hey, I want to help you with this thing," and you can almost tell from the headline too, when the headline says like, "Helping companies get leads," you're like, if you see someone trying to connect with you and their headline says that, you're the lead.
Right.
They're not going to help you. You're getting got.
Yeah. Yeah.
But these people, and they're like shooting notes, and sometimes, if I'm not sure, I'll just hi, waiting for that. But if they like throw me a pitch, I throw them right back at them. They're like, here,
That's
blah blah blah,
good.
check scheduled time, when are you good? I'm like, you know what, I go, oh, that's really cool. You know what I'm excited about? My book that's live on Amazon right now. Here's a link to it. Let me know what you think. How many
Nice.
copies you're gonna get?
Do you get any response back from that?
Sometimes I do. I don't have, I got maybe like one or two people to buy it. Or, or, or what I
Good.
tell them is like, oh, you want a 30-minute meeting? How many books equals a 30-minute meeting? Right? And like, okay, you go buy, 15 minutes. Okay, you go buy 2 books, and then we'll chat. But nobody really does. It just kind of puts it back on them. They're like, oh, this is frustrating. Let me go somewhere else.
I
Um,
love that.
One time though, I accidentally sent that to someone who I realized wasn't trying to spam me, and
Oh.
but they sent me a nice response back there. Oh, that's exciting, and that's great. And I was like, oops. I'm like, hey, how are you? How are you? You got caught in my spam filter.
It happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Totally.
Yeah.
You had so back to that story about the gal with the one follower telling you what's what and blocking you to this day. By the way, I
Oh,
feel
well,
like,
that woman had a decent amount of followers. I
did
wouldn't
she?
say that she's like the biggest out there, but I think that she was using LinkedIn as one vehicle, but she's bigger on other, like she's big on YouTube and big on Instagram, and she's kind of like got that model look. So she's kind of um
Wait, she looks like a
yeah.
model?
Yeah,
Oh
she
no,
kind
no,
of,
like the model look, as in like
yeah,
she
like
got
I
the.
went to her Instagram before she blocked me and stuff. And she's posing in a lot of pictures, and
Because you're definitely the person I think of blocking all the time on LinkedIn, right? Like says
it's happened a few times. Yep.
really. So are you just
Yeah.
throwing down some shade? Is that what's happening? You're just
I don't
getting
think
into it?
so, but they do. Like,
Oh,
there've been a few things. I mean, I try, like I said, I try to avoid controversial topics for the most part, but sometimes I cannot stop myself because it's so ridiculous what they're saying. I
yeah.
think, back when everything was happening around George Floyd's death and Black
Mm,
Lives Matter was reemerging, someone one of my connections, who I had engaged with a number of times successfully. I, he posted something about, oh, now they're coming after the show Paw Patrol. Did you hear about this? The
Paw Patrol is
kids
a
show?
great show, so I don't
Yeah.
know what people are mad about.
Okay. So
Is Paw
I
Patrol
guess
bad? Like it's just
no,
kids running around and they're like, are they puppies, right?
no, it's totally fine.
Oh,
What it
okay.
all stemmed from was somebody made a satirical comment on Twitter saying like we should, cancel culture Paw Patrol because there's dog cops on it. They
Oh,
were kidding. They were joking. But
they were joking. Got it.
one side of the aisle took that and ran with it and started running articles about like now they're trying to come after Paw Patrol because of cops and this is ridiculous and we should respect, they totally just it just went over their head.
Yeah.
So this guy posted about that and said no one's coming after it. It hasn't been canceled. This was all blown out of proportion. And he was like, that's your perspective, whatever. And I was like, okay. And I sent him a link that showed like the facts because I just want people to have the facts, And then
Yeah.
he blocked me.
Oh,
So
very well.
that was it. I never say anything inflammatory to people. I never insult people, but things like that, when they want their feed to be everyone agreeing with them, they block you.
Yeah. That's tough. You know what? And by the way, for the record, Paw Patrol came out with a new movie called Jet, apparently in
Oh,
theaters
good.
now, on
Thanks.
iTunes now.
Okay. That's a
So
good recommendation for the kids.
sounds
Thanks.
like I know, right? Sounds like it's alive and well.
Yeah.
I know there's some comedians that are like great at burning people, and they even who is it? There's like the comedy battle guy. Who's the the roast king? It's like
Mm.
Jeff Ross.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
So he walks around, and one time he was like at I don't know, it was Jimmy Kimmel Live or someone, but he like walked around the studio and just burned staff members. And you
Nice.
go on the street and people are like, burn me, Jeff. And then they don't realize like he's
What's
good at
coming?
it. He'll burn, or he'll get people on stage at one of his shows and he'll just burn them individually down the line. Um, but I was thinking the same thing. Like, you know, definitely call me out on my bullshit if you see anything that I do. That would be awesome. I feel like it'd be like a badge of honor,
It
to have someone be like, is that? I'd be like, yeah, no.
that's like when you've made it, right? Yeah.
Sure.
People are trolling you a little bit. Like
Yeah.
it's fun. There's a guy I follow and I'm friends with, Luke Matthews. Do you follow him?
Why does that sound
Check him
familiar?
out. He's pretty funny and irreverent, and I try to remember to be funny because of him. But
Is
he
that on LinkedIn?
totally, yeah, on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Check
he
it out.
totally like he loves trolls. Like I think it's so funny. He's like, please troll me. Like I love to get into it with people. I like it doesn't phase him. And I think we should all have that approach. Like, don't let it phase you.
Yes.
Don't come at
Right.
people with your first response being defensive. Like that doesn't do anything. Like engage them and be like, okay, tell me more. And then challenge them back. Like it's an opportunity to have fun and to listen to
Yeah.
what someone else has to say.
Is this the Luke Matthews that's in England?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, the reason he doesn't mind trolls is because he looks like he could beat them all up.
Yeah.
I don't think I would troll that guy, to be honest. And if I did, I'd definitely be an anonymous egg on Twitter where he can't find me.
He's far away. Can't do
Yeah,
anything.
I'm sure he's a nice guy, but like his LinkedIn photo is like super serious. I'm Luke
Oh
Matthews.
yeah.
Cheers, mate. I'm Luke Matthews. Let's fight after the football match.
Let's fight.
Um, but yeah, I could see him laughing. I mean, ha ha ha. What do you have on me? But yeah, you're right. Don't take it too seriously. But at the same time, that bit of professionalism, you don't have to be perfectly polished, but like what you put on LinkedIn does
Yeah,
reflect you. So
it
be
does.
yourself. But also be mindful of the fact that it is out there for everyone, you know?
Hmm? Yeah, and yeah,
So don't be a jerk, I guess, is the thing.
it's been an interesting time where, with all the things that are happening, like I said, with the racial justice movement, and if
Yeah.
you're going to go out there and comment and say something that's, bigoted or hateful, expect your employer might see that. Like that
Oh,
might get
yeah.
back to them. So, I mean, there's definitely a line, and you have to be comfortable with whatever you're going to say out there that your colleagues and your bosses will see it. And that's how I feel about mine. I don't think there's anything they've ever questioned me on
Right.
at my work. So they know that's just me being me. And I mean, I have the position of, yes, I do social media. I do, digital media for a living. So I think they get that I'm out there and it's a good thing. So
Yeah.
not everybody's coming from that place, and I get that. But find where your line is and how much of yourself you feel comfortable sharing, and then do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely one of those things where it, you yourself, don't be a jerk, but then people can tell. Do you remember there's a kind of a classic social media case a long time ago of some lady that got on a plane in like England. She was flying to South Africa, and by the time she got there, she was fired. Something like
Yes.
that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and I can't even remember what the tweet
It
was,
was not
but
good.
yeah.
It was basically something racist about where she was going to Africa, and probably something about AIDS being there.
Yes, that's
Social
right.
media
Yep.
mishap.
I don't think people realize how instant social media is sometimes. Like maybe now people know,
Yeah,
but
I found it. It's how one stupid tweet blew up Justine Sacco's life. Okay, now there
I
you go. Hey, Justine. Hope she's better.
do
Hope she's
remember.
learned her lesson 7 years later. We're still talking about
Probably.
her on a podcast. But
Wow,
she wrote something about uh, going to Africa. Hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding. I'm white. So
oh,
something you don't
oh,
ever say or think for that matter.
poor
That's
thing.
just
Yeah.
wrong. But what's crazy about that? That's like that's the most wrong. That's like if you're gonna be wrong, that's the most extreme wrong you could possibly like. Unless you're swearing, you can't. How do you get better than that? So
Yeah.
she said that on a tweet, then got on a flight. She was at Heathrow. Oh, she was at Heathrow on a little layover. It's like if you're on a layover and you've been having a little bit too much of that tomato and vodka, like don't pick up your phone and tweet.
Nope.
She chuckled to herself as she pressed send. Okay, I don't know. How do they know that she chuckled to herself? They don't know that. That's a little. She might have just fallen back into a stupor. But then no one replied, which didn't surprise her. She only had 170 followers on Twitter. Boarded
Wow.
the plane. It was an 11-hour flight, so she slept. When the plane landed in Cape Town, she was taxiing on the runway. She turned on her phone. Right away, she got a text from someone she hadn't spoken to since high school. I'm so sorry to see what's happening. Oh no. She was
Oh,
another text.
that.
You need to call me immediately. It was her best friend. You're the #1 worldwide trend right now on Twitter.
Can
Oh
you imagine?
God. In a bad way.
I did not realize she only, or maybe I knew then, that she only had 170 followers. That's insane.
Wow. But well, I guess she got good engagement on that tweet. that,
Yeah.
that was the worst. So okay, so yeah, and then uh, in light of that, people were donating in light of that. Oh, and how did she get a PR job? Her employer, the owner of the Daily Beast and OkCupid Vimeo, um, she's unavailable. She's on an international flight. All I want to see is her face when she lands. Anyways, there's a great article. New York Times has a great article, 2015, about this, and
Okay.
I imagine that by the time she landed, she did not have a job. But it's
Yeah.
worse. She's the #1 trending tweet on Twitter. That's a good one. She decided to wear sun. Oh my goodness. Anyways, don't be like
Yeah.
her. That was bad.
No, that's not the way you want to become Twitter famous.
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
Yeah. Nope. That's not it. So now that we learned what not to do, maybe this other gal is what also not to do. She was talking about articles. What's your take on articles? Do you do them anymore? Because I remember I used to do them, and then like
Uh-huh.
you'd get maybe I only have 170 followers, but like you'd get like a few engagements. And then I was like, I've spent like a year writing this thing. Is it even worth
Mm-hmm.
doing articles anymore? What's your take? What's your take? And I care more about what
Yeah.
you say than her 30-minute video.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
It's a shame that LinkedIn has made them harder to find. At
Yeah.
least that's what people are saying, and that's what we think the algorithm is doing. So that's one reason people aren't doing them as much. I totally agree with you that the amount of time and effort it takes to put a good one together and then not seeing any engagement on it is just completely takes the wind out of your sails to do more. I haven't done any. The reason that I would consider it in the future is for SEO purposes, they are picked up in search engine
Mm,
results, whereas your posts on LinkedIn are not. So if you have something and you want to really get it out there, increase the reach of it, then go for it. Do a LinkedIn article. I would even say do it above maybe your blog, unless your blog's getting really great traffic already. I
really?
think,
Above the blog?
yeah, I mean, if you're already doing great on your blog, like keep it up. But if you're just starting out and you're trying to provide resources to people and like deeper research, try LinkedIn articles and see where it gets you. It's just going to be a
Yeah.
new way to get you that exposure. And obviously, if you have something that's a lot more in depth to say than a post, then go ahead and try an article. I just wouldn't rely on them for the reach
Do
and
you write any?
engagement that you
Do you
want.
do any?
Would you say?
Sorry, do you do any articles?
No, I haven't done any. And so I won't make a video about it.
I was gonna
But
say.
learn from
Well,
that.
you're
But
okay. You don't have to do articles because you didn't spend 30 minutes telling people why they should do articles.
right. Yeah. But I do see where there's value in them. And I could consider doing it in the future
Yeah.
for any of those reasons. If I start up my own website and want to promote that, which is something I'm thinking about doing, but
Yeah.
working mom life, that'll be later.
Jeez.
So
Can't imagine. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah. Maybe when they all go back to school, we'll have a little more free time.
Yeah.
Um, Craziness. Okay. Where do you think this is going? Like, we've certainly evolved, thankfully, from 2013 and Justine, or hopefully we have. But
Yeah.
what do you see coming around the bend in the future? What kind of changes? LinkedIn's doing stories now. What
Yeah.
what's your take on the future of LinkedIn and the social realm, really?
I think people have speculated that in the coming years, LinkedIn will become a place for advertisers that will get behind the influencers who are really making good content.
Oh,
Um, I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. Obviously, there's LinkedIn advertising, but you know, the level is not where it is with Instagram and influencers. So I could see that happening in the next couple of years. I
huh.
mean, I just think companies are missing out on a huge, huge opportunity to have people amplify their
Yeah.
brands. And I'm surprised they're not doing it. So I could see it happening. The algorithm and the things that LinkedIn prioritizes are so unpredictable. I just don't know why they focus on certain things over others. Like, I wouldn't have put stories at the top of the list of things to change personally.
Lame. I think it's lame.
I do too.
Do you use them though? Have you tried doing them? And what do you do?
I haven't yet. I was thinking maybe today, since I already did my hair for this.
Nice.
So that's the
Right?
thing,
You
is
should
like
take a
getting
selfie right
yourself.
now and be like on the podcast with
Yep.
Casey, and
Yeah.
then
I, yeah, it's hard for me to
it's
quite
weird.
see the value in it for LinkedIn, except that it does add to the whole humanizing yourself piece,
That's true.
making, showing your personality. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
part of it, it's fun. It can't hurt, I don't think, but I wouldn't let it replace a regular posting strategy and frequency,
Yeah. It's also like it's not Facebook, it's not Instagram.
right?
So like I went rock climbing on Tuesday and I brought this up before. Do I post a picture of me rock climbing, or is that like completely not helpful for anyone? So why would I post that? Like, does it have to be helpful
Yeah.
on
I
a LinkedIn
mean,
story?
I don't think that's how people are using it to be helpful, really. I think people are using it to show another side of themselves. So you
Right.
could do it, but the benefits are
Yeah.
questionable.
And
Yeah.
I can't unlike not Cheese Whiz where you can like pour the cheese on, where it's like, look at me climbing. This is just like the buyer's journey. We got to struggle up the cliff. And like, ugh,
Yeah,
I
I
can't do it.
totally hear you.
I can't do it. I know some
Yeah.
people can, and I'm sure they have more followers than I do, but I can't do it.
They can and they do. I'm not sure it's the best
Right.
strategy sometimes. This is a real stretch.
This rope is like my buyer's journey. You got
Yeah.
to hold on to it. And the person belaying you is okay. I say this now, but watch me write a post now. I'm gonna write an article. Like rock climbing is like sales and marketing alignment. Actually, that might be okay. But
For an article, yeah.
yeah. But whatever just gets a picture of me in rock climbing gear out there for everyone else to see how cool I am. I think that would be. I'm only
Yeah.
half kidding. I think. I don't know. It's Friday, right? Like, what is even going on? Um,
Yeah.
who are you? How did you become who you are? You have like 18,000 followers right now. When you comment, people listen. When you like something, like you are an influencer. Um,
I
who
guess.
are you, Mandy? Take us back in time, little you days.
Little me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that I always liked to write.
Okay.
I always liked my English classes, my reading assignments. That was always me. So while I don't think my education or even the formal education I had helped me figure anything out
Yeah.
about what I was
Same.
going to do, I'm hoping that's totally different now. I knew that if somebody needed help writing a paper, like I was there for them. I would help
Gotcha.
them
Shout out
review
to the
it. That
University of
was my job.
Maryland. Thanks for nothing. Just kidding.
Oh, go Terps. I love you guys. No, I think it's a fundamental. That could be a whole other podcast, is the education system. And I think things now are shifting to the point where people, as they're growing up, because of social media, because of online access, they see people who they want to be like, and they figure out what profession they want so much earlier, and they can
Yeah.
start making headway toward that, like as a teenager, and start doing internships and all this stuff, building a portfolio. Like it's incredible. But we didn't have that, or I didn't
Right.
have that.
Where'd you
Um,
grow up?
so I grew up in Maryland,
Okay.
a little town called Columbia, and that's also where I work, or when I used to go to the office. So I still have kind of a touchstone to my
Yeah.
hometown.
Still there. That's
Um,
cool. Same here. I grew up in Nashua, New Hampshire, and I'm still in Nashua. I like traveling and coming back here.
yeah, nice. Now we're a little closer to DC,
Okay.
which is nice. When we used to go there. And yeah, Columbia is a cool little city if you ever want to check it out. It was really founded to be this like diverse, sort of open, collaborative city, and a lot of those principles still stand today.
Hmm. Cool. Very cool. So you're writing. So you go to school for writing in English.
Hmm.
And at any point, when is like the marketing bug getting to you?
I didn't know a thing about marketing. I
I
really
didn't,
didn't.
yeah.
Yeah. I wish that I had taken some courses in it looking back, but I didn't know that then. So yeah, when I got out of school, I found a job as an editor, technical editor in their communications department,
Okay.
at a consulting firm. And so that was a little bit more communications, but it had some aspects of marketing, but it was marketing for government clients. And, I was there for a little while, and then I went to a university, and that was really where I first started in a true marketing department, marketing and communications, and started to kind
Gotcha.
of learn the ropes there. Yeah.
Wow. And then it's like off to the races at that point. Now you're writing with purpose. It's to get people to take an action or understand
Right.
something or yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it was a cool time because, I mean, not to date myself, but social media was just kind of emerging at
Yeah.
that point. And so I remember being part of launching, the first channels for that university.
Oh, no kidding. You
Yeah,
have to
that
have those
was,
conversations with grumpy old professors about like what social media is and
oh God, yes, yes. And I mean, including at the job, and then when I switched to the job I'm at now, I used to spend a lot of my time defending social
Right.
media, what it is, what its purpose is. Like, it's not going to kill us. It's going to be okay.
Right.
I'm glad that we're at a place now where people, it's like you have to do it. There's no, there's no other way. But in the beginning, it was a little bit more of an uphill battle for sure.
Yeah. No, that's what I guess kids these days won't realize is that, when you grow up without social being everywhere and phones being everywhere, and there's some transitions that have to happen.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yep.
Well, if you were to look back, hypothetical for you, I
Hmm.
may have a time machine in Nashua, New Hampshire, and in my backyard, covered with a tarp. And if you can use that, so COVID's all done, come visit. You can use my time machine. You go back in time and visit yourself after your graduation, your undergrad. You can go say
Mm.
hi to yourself. Hello. And you can give yourself advice. What kind of things would you tell yourself?
Oh yeah. I think that I would say start thinking about and exploring some of the things that you want to do most. I think I did some of the right things. So I would
Yeah.
still continue on the path. I mean, luckily, when I worked at a university, that meant I got free tuition to get my graduate degree. So I got a degree in design. And
Oh,
so
snap.
that's where I
Yeah.
learned a lot about, visual design, graphic design, some web, some basic coding. So I think I would still want those skills, but I would love a few others that I use so much now. And I think some more marketing training. I think I love video editing. So I think it's cool what you do, and I want to hear more about how you edit the pod. But
Yeah.
I've dabbled in it, and I've worked more with video agencies now, and I love what they do. So I think, yeah, I would invest the time in some more skills and spend the time to think a little bit more about what is it that I want in the future and how can I build a portfolio to get there. I think that people in their early 20s, maybe now they get it, but I don't think they always understood that especially in the creative field, that you can start to build that portfolio right away.
Yeah.
You can make things up, but like have something to show that shows, your strengths and what you do right away.
Yeah. It's so true. Whether you have a degree or not, or this or that, if you're like, look what I can do, you're like, cool, do more of
Yeah,
that at our
right.
company now. like,
Exactly.
like that's how really, companies, having now created some and been a part of some, and you realize, oh, it's not this, amorphous beast, this black box. They just, if you can help them get the things done that they need to get done, they're like,
Yeah,
get on over here. And gone are
right.
the days everybody's being like, wow, this person can really help us, but they don't have the proper degree, or not from like, I don't even care. I don't even ask
Yeah.
what school people go to anymore, because it's just like, but I do ask, oh, show me this or tell me more about that. And then they can demonstrate, or they have all these examples. Then it's like, cool, giddy up, let's do this,
Uh-huh. Yep. And that's, yeah. And the other thing I would tell my former self is like, know your worth, research what you're worth,
Yeah.
create the path and the career and the title that you want. Like, it's not all set in stone. And I think more and more now I've become an advocate of that, of making sure that you're paid what you're worth, that you shape the direction that you want, that you don't just let others do that for you.
Yeah. To that point, you mentioned understanding and figuring out what you want to do, what you want. And
Hmm.
I think I went through a lot of life letting other people say like,
Mm,
oh, well, you want this, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess. Because I didn't know, because I didn't spend time myself figuring out what I wanted. I was more influenced by what everyone else thought that I should want. And
exactly.
when you do that, it's just like a terrible chain reaction of like, you're not inspired, you're not doing what you want to do, and so subconsciously you may even just not be good at it because you're like, well, I don't want to do this. So anytime a situation pops up now, like even recently, something happens, you're like, yikes, what am I going to do here? It's like, pause. What
Yeah.
do you want to come out of all of this? And then let
Hmm.
that shape your next actions, not just jumping right into go, 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 go. Maybe the
Hmm.
right isn't that what everyone else would say is the right answer. Maybe it's just what gets you to where you want to be,
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
exactly. And it takes the time, and it's hard for people to dedicate that time. I know it's hard for me to really think about what it is I want and how to get there. But it's worth it. And I think anytime you can carve out opportunities for yourself to get there, you should do that. And I mean, for me, where I'm at now at Enterprise Community Partners, I've been there, it'll be 10 years in November. I never, ever expected that.
right.
But I think that I've done a good job in recent years of trying to shift and take on more responsibility so that I could get recognized and move into another role. And I don't think, especially women, I'll
Mm,
say, do that enough. So raise your hand, and tell your bosses, like, I deserve a promotion, I deserve a raise, this is where I provide value, this is what I can do, and just shake up the status quo. Like, you don't have to follow the rules perfectly. You can prove your worth and shape your own future.
shape your own future. I love it.
Yeah,
I
that's
love it.
marketing. That's definitely my marketing talking, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's marketing, but it's real. I mean, it's marketing because it sounds good, but it comes from a real sentiment, you know.
Yeah.
It's this you gotta advocate for yourself,
Yes.
you know, and sometimes other people will, but assume that they won't. So you
Exactly.
need to just, I don't want to say it's not like looking out for yourself. It's not that sort of selfish angle of it. It's just more like looking for yourself. Like
Hmm.
where can I show more value? Where can I step up? Where can I
Yeah.
do things?
Yeah.
Taking on more responsibility. Companies basically pay people based on how much responsibility they have. So the more you take on, the more you should be receiving. And then to your point, you should be asking for, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah, and then find who those advocates are, the people who will support you
Yeah.
the most. And they're there, you have to find them sometimes. But it's a process, and I think that that's something I would definitely remind my older self, my younger self, maybe my older self too.
Right.
I would remind my younger self that, like, you have control in what happens, and you're the driver.
You have control. You are the driver. That is cool. You are full of sound bites. You can't even help yourself.
Yeah, I guess so. Man, I should be like recording it. Well, we are, but for a LinkedIn post.
Yeah, we'll get you some live feeds. You can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
Um, hey, what about a podcast for you? You ever thought of doing that?
I am now, just because this is so fun. Like, I'm
Yeah, it
enjoying
really
every
is,
minute.
right?
I mean, you're great at it. So I,
Oh,
I
thank you.
love to hear your tips. And I've been doing this thing, I think I mentioned to you before the podcast, but I've been doing this thing called quad meets, where you host a session, and then three people, you don't know who it's going to be in advance. Three people show up, and it's just 30 minutes of talking about
Huh.
whatever you want. And trying to connect people to other people on LinkedIn is part of it too. So that's been a little bit of a dabble into, I don't know, that kind of hosting role.
Yeah.
And it's just fun. It's really, there's no, like, monetary value that's put into it. It's just for fun. So, yeah, we'll
Yeah, this
see.
looks
I don't
cool.
know.
It's quadmeets.com, looks like.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I just see four people smiling at each other, waving. That's cool. And
Yeah.
I could see where that I've done like one-on-ones with randos, and that's been interesting and fun, thankfully, but you never
Yeah.
know. So
Right.
I could see how with four, at least you got like a mixture.
Dynamic.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
just in case there's
Yeah.
a weirdo.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so what would you call it? Your podcast? What
You
would you
just put
what
me
would
on
you
the spot. I don't know. Well, my hashtag on LinkedIn is more with Mandy, so I could play off that or something. I don't
sold?
know.
I like that.
And people will be like, "Oh, haha, like Mandy Moore?" And I'm like, kind of, because people often nickname me Mandy Moore just because my name's Mandy. So
Because the other
double,
Mandy that they know, I guess.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That could get I guess I'd check it out and search to see if that would be upstaged by Mandy Moore. If you
Maybe
more with Mandy. Hmm,
spelled differently. We have that.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there is one.
A podcast called that.
The More with Mandy show.
Ooh, I gotta check it out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, I would have to do some analysis and research, I guess,
I
and see
guess
what it.
someone. But You know what? At least that means you're on the right path because you came up with an idea that someone else already has. So keep
Yeah.
thinking those things because yeah, really, even just you have a cool last name too, though. You really do.
Oh, thanks. Well, it's my husband's, but I took it.
Nah. What was it beforehand?
Ugh, mouthful. Well, it was Agatstein, Agatstein. It's my parents are from Ukraine originally, Jewish
Really?
Ukrainian. Yeah, so it's people can never really pronounce it, and so I was like pretty excited to take a more simple name.
Right. So I didn't have to ask you how to pronounce it before the show, even.
Yeah,
I do with some people.
it's nice.
Did you speak Ukrainian and stuff at home or
My parents
Russian?
actually spoke Russian there.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was the Soviet influence
Yeah.
at that time. So I knew bits and pieces. What happened was I have an older sister. They started trying to speak to her in Russian when she was already probably like 2. And she said one day, this is the story. One day she said, I don't want to speak Spanish because she'd been watching Sesame Street where they do a lot of Spanish. And I guess that was the beginning of the end. My parents were like, we don't want to confuse her. They just had no idea. They were brand new to the
I don't want to
country.
speak Spanish, guys.
Yeah. And so now we're sad that they didn't speak to us from the beginning. I have so many friends who are Spanish speaking and they have kids and they start right away speaking
Yeah.
in Spanish. And I'm like, and then they sometimes they get upset because their kids are a little confused when they start school with English. And I'm like, trust me, they are going to be set for life. They will pick up English, but then they will also have Spanish. So but I did take Russian at University of Maryland
Did.
for a year and a half. So I have losing a lot of it now. I have the Rosetta Stone app, so I was going to start again at some point.
Nice.
Um,
Have you tried using any of it on your parents?
I said something to my mom the other day, and she was like, "I'm proud of you."
Oh,
So
good. I was
I
like, as
need
long as she
to,
doesn't correct you, like, no, 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 you say it this way. Um,
yeah, yeah. My dad is no longer with us, but he was
oh,
my number one advocate, I guess, teacher during
yeah.
when I was taking that class. He would sit down with me, like I would come home the weekends and he would help me with Russian.
Oh,
He was
wow.
like a master of, and that's probably one of the reasons when you ask about my childhood, one of the reasons I love English was somehow that man mastered the English language after coming here and not knowing, anything. He was
Really?
so good at grammar, I think, on both languages. So
Wow. Oh, so you really got your start from him then.
I
And
think so.
yeah.
Yeah, and he was incredible. He was an engineer, so he's
Mm,
math, science guy. He's got the whole thing. But when I look back at his story, I'm just so impressed with everything that he
wow.
managed to do when he came here, without much of anything.
Yeah. And even expecting an engineer to then go do the silly, weird language of English that makes no sense sometimes, but he
Yeah.
wrapped his hands around it. It sounds like that's
Hmm.
really cool. Is it kind of a special thing then whenever you speak Russian? I don't know if that reminds you of those times coming in the class and everything.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I don't do it enough, so I
Yeah.
got to get back to it.
Get back at it. Do a
Hmm.
Russian podcast.
Oh yeah. I did about a year after my dad died, my mom and I went to Russia together, not Ukraine, but on a trip to Russia. She said she had no interest in going to Ukraine, but she was sort of my speaking guide person,
Wow.
and it was really cool to see her in her element and be able to bounce back and forth between languages and experience some of the places because my dad went to university in St. Petersburg, so we got to kind
No
of see
kidding.
like his city.
What was that trip like? I've never been to Russia.
Oh yeah, we were going to talk about travel. Yeah,
Yeah, now's the time.
it was really cool. We went for two
Yeah.
weeks. So we did the first week in St. Petersburg. Now I'm forgetting the order, but 1 week in St. Petersburg, 1 week in Moscow.
Okay.
Um, I loved St. Petersburg. It's beautiful.
Really?
Yeah, just all the architecture, all the food was actually really good. I remember it was very expensive. All the restaurants were
Really?
super expensive, but that the food was fantastic. We got an apartment in both places, so we tried to go shopping and buy and make food too. And Moscow, it's obviously rich with culture,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a little bit more run down.
Mm.
Excuse me. It was a little bit more run down. The city looked like it needed a little help. Um, but we went to the ballet. That was really cool.
Oh, the Russian ballet in
Mhm.
Russia?
Yeah,
What was that like?
incredible.
Was
Yeah,
it
yeah.
insane? Yeah. My daughter does ballet, so
Oh.
I I saw no ballet up into being a father, and then then being a
Now
father,
you.
pretty sure I've seen the Nutcracker a few times.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Crazy. Well, what about Japan? I know that you had mentioned, because we were chatting earlier, like, oh, where would you want to go? Now you've been to Russia, and it sounds like the next thing on your list post COVID, when you get a chance to go, is Japan.
Yeah. Yeah, well, one of my coworkers went a couple years ago and she loved it. Like I keep hearing incredible stories about it. I've heard that the people are just wonderful people. Like they'll help you figure out where to go.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that's always one of my travel fears is like people being mean and being like, oh, these stupid Americans, which in Russia they kind of were.
were
Uh,
they? Yeah.
but I had my mom to like help me out. Um, so yeah, I like that. I definitely want to try the food. I'm a fairly adventurous eater. My husband's a really adventurous eater. So it'd
Nice.
be fun to see, what he would try, what I would try. I don't know, it just sounds like it's different from your typical like beach trip, that kind of thing. So
Totally.
way out there, yeah. So you tell me more about it.
Yeah, it kind of like what I would imagine Russia would be, unless you read Russian, which is you can't read a single thing at all, not even close.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because go to other countries, especially if you speak Spanish or French, you can at least read the thing and
Yeah.
um, make a judgment call. Or if it's a name of a town, you can make a judgment call.
Hmm.
You can't make out any of that in Japan. And the blessing too, though, is you can't make out any advertisements, and they're everywhere. But
That's true.
you bounce off you because you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Cool colors, neat little stick figure. I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so it's like you get to see advertisements and see the culture, but it doesn't quite get into your brain. So it's just this like amazing place. The people, um, talk about professionalism, the opposite of what we talked about LinkedIn, just the professionalism and
Mm.
but the fun and the friends. I had a chance to train some people at a partner many years ago, teaching them how to use lasers, and it was fun. It was really cool. But they took us out to lunch, and then would take us out to dinner. And where did we go out when we went out for dinner? Chinese. It
Oh,
was,
really?
yeah. And you think, oh,
Wow.
take us to your best Chinese restaurant. No, no, no. They get that all the time. They're like, where can we go? Oh, let's go to the Chinese grill. So we went to this Chinese restaurant. They basically grilled different body parts of animals, and they were like available, and they were drinking sake, and it was just really cool to connect with people in different languages. And there was this one
Yeah.
phrase, oh, Pimsleur. So I know you have Rosetta Stone, but I'm a big fan of Pimsleur.
Oh, okay.
Their audio CDs, now
Uh-huh.
audio MP3s, and audio, whatever. Um, and I would typically listen to Pimsleur on the flight over to any
Nice.
country I didn't know, so I could learn the polite, how are you? I speak English. What do you speak English? Um,
Yeah.
and those kind of niceties to be polite. And there's this one phrase that I learned on the flight over, which was something like Io Tenki Desne, something like that. Io Tenki Desne.
Hmm.
Pronunciation's a little off, but that is basically slang. I remembered it because all the other stuff was formal, but this was kind of like slang. And I always like
Yeah.
the people talk kind of thing. And
Yeah.
slang for just, it's a nice day out, isn't it? And the response is so desne. Like, yeah, it is. Yes, it is. And so I remember walking to lunch, taking a break. We're from the training, and we're walking to lunch with our partners, our Japanese partners, and they're just great people. And I was like, oh, what's that? I tried to remember that phrase all day, couldn't remember it. But then I was outside downtown Tokyo, looked up at the sky, blue with nice clouds. It was a beautiful day. And I was like, it's such a nice day. And then it came to me, and it was like, then I looked over at him and I said, Iyo Tenki doesn't it? And he was like, huh? He's like, so. And I was like, oh my gosh, he said what they said they would say. Uh,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
best compliment ever was when he said, did you study Japanese in college? Right? It was like, no, on the plane flight over here, but thank you. And it's so fun to do
Well
that. But yeah,
done.
it's great. We stayed at this the Palace Hotel, which is right across the street from the Imperial Palace. And in the morning, I could go for a run around the Imperial Palace,
Ooh.
which is amazing. And then they had the History Museum is like up high. They've elevated above the city. It's like way up high, almost on stilts. But they have full life-size houses, boats, all these things from history. They're all in there. It's
Oh,
amazing. And I
wow.
remember coming out of there, and they had a festival, a sumo wrestling festival, and they were serving up soup, the soup that the sumo wrestlers eat, which is actually like very healthy, which is funny.
Mm,
Very healthy soup. And so we all got a bowl of that, and yeah, it's a fantastic place.
that's cool. Is it your favorite place, or do you have another favorite that you've traveled to?
New favorite is Paris. I went to Paris
Oh.
last year, and I had thought like it was the contrast. Everyone says they're
Mm.
mean and they're rude and this and that, and maybe it's just because I didn't try to like I know enough to be polite, but I don't know any other French, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like I'll say those things, and the rest of it I'll be like and then they go hop into English, and I'll hop in English, and we're not pretending anything. So I had no
Mhm.
problem. When I got there, I realized they're all about wine and food and enjoying life, and I was like,
Yeah.
sign me up.
They're,
I'm
yeah.
in. I don't need to be all work, 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 work. Like, let's do this.
Uh-huh.
So that's my new favorite. 'Cause the art, and the culture.
Yeah.
I remember at night, on the Seine, I guess it is it the Seine? Yeah, the river that goes right through Paris.
Yeah.
There were everyone came out and was sitting along the river talking to
Mm.
their friends, and even the kids, like the teenagers, were sitting there with their friends. And where in the US they'd be drinking like Mike's or like cheap beer or some rum that their uncle got them, they were drinking bottles of wine. And it
Wow.
was like, even the teenagers are classy.
Yeah.
What's going on? So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And
But
is their wine better? I don't know.
yes.
I went to Paris when I was a teenager, so I don't know that.
Yeah.
But I remember in Italy the wine was better.
Yeah. Yeah. And mere table wine, the cheap wine is just like really good. So but real quick tip for you on Japan,
Mm-hmm.
the subways, um, the names of the stations, great subway, definitely ride that, but the
Yeah.
names of the stations aren't transliterated. They're all in kanji, so you don't know what they say. You also don't know what station you're at or which one to get off of to next.
Oh,
So
wow.
the hotel can give you a card usually that has all the stations transliterated. So it'll say like, oh, Oribachi station or something like that.
Okay.
And then you count the dots, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then you see the transliteration so you can listen. And what's interesting is every station has its own theme song. So you pull into
Huh.
a station and it's like dee, 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 some kind of cool theme song. It's like Oribachi station, Oribachi, blah blah blah, and
Yeah.
then a little theme song. So you can kind of like remember that. But one time we left without that card, we ended up in
Oh,
a random
no.
station, and my colleague and I were looking at the sign. We're done. We can't find anything. Some nice person was like, "Do you need help?" It was like a nice businessman. We're like, "Yes, please." Actually, he's like, "Oh,
That's what I've
English, right?
heard.
Yeah, what station are you looking for?" Blah blah blah, and helped us get there. So it was like the
That's
cool
so
in a
cool.
random subway to be helped out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Travel
Cool.
times, right?
Yeah, one day.
One day soon, coming out the tunnel, so it'll be fun.
Mhm.
Hey, where can people connect with you if they want to reach out? Get
Yeah, well,
more Mandy hashtag.
yes. More with Mandy is my hashtag. You can look me up on LinkedIn. I think it's just Mandy McIntyre is the
Okay,
URL. Um, and where else? Yeah, that's the main place. I have a
that is the main place.
Calendly link, but if you hit me up on LinkedIn and if you say you want to meet up, then I'll send you the Calendly link. And I'm always happy to meet up with people. It's just a free consultation to see if there's something we can do together. I can help you on LinkedIn or with your social or communications. Happy to talk to you.
I believe it. And let's definitely stay in touch as well. I think you should have sponsors. I think you should, and
Let's
it
talk
may
more about that.
we should talk more about that and figure out
Yeah,
what does it even look like. Maybe we could be the trailblazers to figure out what that even looks like. Um,
exactly.
but this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on here. I just had so much fun just chatting with you here on this Friday. Our Wi-Fi got better.
It did.
Yeah, It was great. At the very beginning, people don't even realize this, but like it was a pretty crazy experience being like, what is going on? But then now it's good, which means probably they're all done school is what's happened.
I think so.
Yeah.
Thank you
Totally.
so much for having me. I had a blast too.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Same here. And for the people listening, if you learned something, and I freaking know you did because I got the notes over here to prove it, then
Yeah.
share this with someone else. Be a thought leader on LinkedIn is a great place to do that. But what you do is you don't just share a link. You actually put what you got from this. What's a takeaway? What's something that Mandy had said that was like, oh, interesting. I'm going to try that. And there's a bunch of things here. The funny side, the personal branding, articles or no articles, GIFs or GIFs. There's some, be real, be authentic. There's so many things here that we've talked about. Put your takeaways on there. And the trick is to now put the link in the comment section. But then tag myself, tag Mandy. We'll jump in there. We'll have a conversation with you on that post. And that is what thought leadership is all about. That's what LinkedIn's all about. And definitely hit up Mandy, connect with her. Don't be a stranger. When you send her a note on LinkedIn, say where you heard her so she doesn't know
Yeah.
if you're trying to sell her LinkedIn coaching.
Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, Mandy, thank you so much. Let's stay in touch. You are a rock star.
Thanks. You too, Casey.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
For everyone listening, this has been the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will catch you all next time.